Right, go.
Go! Right.
It is recording.
And so, what do you think is the most important question anybody's ever been asked?
What's the meaning of life?
No, that's one.
Okay.
Will you marry me, for instance?
No.
Oh, thank you so much. 3 again. Will you give me a job?
No. Try and get rid of you in this one.
Ah, shucks. Can I have an appointment with a dentist today? My tooth is in agony.
Sorry.
I can walk over here. So, but all these are important.
Okay.
But there's one question that is the most important question you've ever been asked. And it's the question that lies at the very heart of Christianity. Matthew 16, verses 13 to 16 and verse 20. When Jesus came into the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, "Who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?" So they said, "Some say John the Baptist, some Elijah, others Jeremiah, or one of his prophets." He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter answered and said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus answered and said to him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven." Look on to verse 20. Then he commanded his disciples that they should tell no one that he was Jesus the Christ. Luke chapter 4, verses 33 to 35. Now in the synagogue there was a man who had a spirit of an unclean demon, and he cried out with a loud voice, saying, "Let us alone! What have we to do with you, Jesus of Nazareth? Did you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Be quiet and come out of him." When the demon had thrown him in their midst, it came out of him and did not hurt him. So we see on both these occasions, Jesus telling his disciples and the demons not to tell anyone that he was the Son of God. Now, this was because the time wasn't ready for the world to know who he was. Because had the religious leaders, the scribes and the Pharisees known this, they would have killed him in no time. When Jesus did start to reveal who he was, they had him on the cross within a week. John chapter 5, verse 18. Therefore, the Jews sought all the more to kill him. John chapter 5, verse 18. Therefore, the Jews sought all the more to kill him, because he not only broke the Sabbath, but also said that God was his Father, making himself equal with God. Now, what's ironic, if you think about it, is they were desperately hoping the Messiah would soon come. And when he did, and he revealed himself to them, they killed him for saying he was God the Messiah. They wanted the Messiah to come. And when he did turn up then, "Oh, you're saying you're the Messiah? Kill him." Didn't make sense. But today, Jesus wants you to know exactly who he is. The Messiah, the Christ, the Son of God. But who do you say that I am? This is an extremely important question, because everything about your life, everything about your eternity is determined by how you answer this question. Who do you say that he is? It's important to understand that in today's culture, reality is anything you claim it to be. That's not true. Reality or truth is defined as that which is. So the question isn't who is Jesus to you, or who would you want Jesus to be, or who would you make him out to be according to your convenience. The question is, who is Jesus? The answer has nothing whatsoever to do with man-made denominations, false doctrine, or even what the church as a body may say. The question is, who actually was the man, Jesus of Nazareth? And I think a good start to answering this question is to look at three options. One, he's a liar. Two, a lunatic. Three, he was Lord. Now, if he was a liar, how could we say that he was a liar? Well, he'd be a liar if he said he was the Son of God, and he purposely, intentionally misled people to believe that he was the Son of God, or that he was God in the flesh. If he didn't believe it himself, or had some hidden motive for saying it, then he was a liar. He would have been a liar, and there's no two ways about it. Second, he's a lunatic. Any person who sincerely believes they're God in the flesh, and they are not God in the flesh, has to be a lunatic. If you see someone on the way home shouting, "I'm God in the flesh," or "I'm the creator of everything, aren't I amazing?" what do you think of him? C.S. Lewis once said, that would be someone on the level of somebody else who had the brain of a poached egg. I think that about sums it up. And the other option is the most shocking of the lot. Jesus was and is and continues to be exactly who he said he was. The Son of the living God who came down from heaven to lay down his life for his fallen creation. So these are the three possible options. You can go home tonight, call him a liar, even a lunatic. Or you can bow your knee to Jesus Christ as Lord and Saviour of the world. So let's examine these one by one, starting with the first option. Liar! Right. So a liar will have a reason for telling lies. And if the lie is kept up for 3.5 years, as Jesus would have done, he would have eventually been caught out somewhere. The disciples and the other people who lived and travelled with him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365, would have realised he's not practising what he's preaching. Saying one thing and going off and doing another. The miracles he performed would have had to have been staged with cooperation from a lot of people, including people who would have had to have acted blind or paralysed from childhood. And as well as them going along with it, their parents would have had to. Some of these people, some people he healed, were actually older than Jesus. So how could these people have benefited by doing that? The disciples would eventually have left him because they'd see no point in going along with the lie, especially being willing to die rather than renounce Jesus. And they would have said, he's not the Son of God. According to Catholic tradition, Peter was crucified upside down. And Thomas was killed in India by having his skin peeled from him and then making him run with no skin, and then they threw a spear in his back and killed him. Would you go through that for a lie? Paul, he wasn't actually a disciple, but he saw Jesus on the road to Damascus. And at that time, he's out looking for Christians to round up, take back to Jerusalem. He was beheaded. He still wouldn't renounce Jesus. He was shipwrecked, he was stoned, he was scourged, and he was even in the end sent to the Roman emperor. As a Roman, if he was up before court and he didn't treat him properly, he could say, I appeal to Caesar. And that's what he did. He was on the way to Rome, he was shipwrecked in Malta. So would you, would you lie to somebody else? Especially when they were dead and you was going to be killed? I wouldn't. What about Jesus? If he'd lied, on the way to the cross, he could have said, all right, listen now, you lot, whoa. Okay, I'm not the Son of God. I admit that now, it was just a scam, guys. What would you have gained by going to the cross for a lie? Especially when you take into account what he went through at the beginning when he was being scourged. He was naked, chained up to a post like that, and had a whip with a cap of 6 tails there. And on the end of it was bits of bone, as I had to dig into the flesh, just whoosh, flick it, so I would pull the muscles and tendons out of his back. And would you have gone through that for a lie? For nothing. He had the chance to deny it. He was the Messiah before all that started. And you know what? He didn't. Matthew 26, verses 63 to 65. But Jesus kept silent, and the high priest answered and said to him, I put you under oath by the living God. Tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God. Jesus said to him, it is as you said. Nevertheless, I say to you, hereafter you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven, as we just sang. Then the high priest tore his clothes, saying, he's spoken blasphemy. What further need do we have of witnesses? Look, now you've heard his blasphemy. He could have denied it. He would have just walked free. You go now, be a good boy. Don't run us down to anybody anymore. Go back to making things. Could have. He didn't. Now in Jewish culture, when somebody said, you have said, it's along the lines of, means something like, you're right. Or, yes, it is. John the Baptist was asked if he was the Messiah. He said, oh, I'm not. So was Jesus a lunatic? No. Some of the greatest scholars of literature through all the ages have said there's nothing written anywhere in history to compare to the Sermon on the Mount. These statements have confounded the wisest people throughout history, and to this day they cannot be contradicted. And this came from a carpenter. If he wasn't the Son of God, how could he have come out with statements that wise? When challenged by the religious leaders of the day, Jesus' replies left them completely stumped and baffled for an answer. They had no response that could counter his statements. They came up with all types of questions to try to catch him out. They had no chance. Jesus outthought them, whatever questions or tests they put to him. Luke chapter 6, verse 6. And it came to pass also on another Sabbath that he entered into the synagogue and taught. And there was a man whose right hand was withered. And the scribes and Pharisees watched him, whether he would heal on the Sabbath day, that they might find an accusation against him. But he knew their thoughts, and said to the man which had the withered hand, rise up and stand forth in the midst. And he arose and stood forth. Then said Jesus unto them, I will ask you one thing. Is it lawful on the Sabbath days to do good or to do evil, to save life or to destroy it? And looking round about upon them all, he said unto the man, Stretch forth thy hand. And he did so, and his hand was restored whole as the other. And they were filled with madness, and communed with one another what they might do to Jesus. They had no response to his words or his miracles, so they wondered what they could do to stop him. And he couldn't do anything until the time came for Jesus to lay down his life. They weren't allowed to do anything to him until that time. Now this leaves us with the third option. He was who he said he is, Lord. If we look at Matthew 16, verses 13 to 14 again, when Jesus came into the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, Who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? So they said, Some say John the Baptist, some Elijah, or others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. So here we can see the disciples answering, saying, Some say John the Baptist, some Elijah, others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. I want to ask you a question here. Does anybody see the danger in these replies? Anyone? The danger.
You're looking at the characteristics of everybody else. Because they think, because they're similar to the characteristics of Jesus, but they don't know Jesus.
It's on the way. Very, it's getting there, put that way.
If he told everybody he was Jesus, first of all, he would have been crucified earlier.
No, that's not, no. The danger is, it's a big danger, that by including Jesus with these people, they made him seem ordinary, as if he was just another person called by God to do a particular job. It's like me or Sally, we're called to do a job. We're nothing special, just a human being. But it's just like...
I'm actually definitely agree with you here. I'm not
It's Julian out there. No. But it would be like he's just like another prophet who you can buy a book about, place it on the shelf. But you can't do that with Jesus. He doesn't give us that option. Jesus is the only person in the Bible who said that he was God become man. I am the eternal Son of God who was put on flesh and now lives among men. Not one other person who served God has made that claim. And do you realise that there's a way to make Christianity acceptable to just about everyone? Any idea?
Marshall, getting yourself in trouble.
Well, if we say that Jesus is a way to the Father, not the way, we could say that Jesus is a prophet, a Saviour, and a Lord. But that wouldn't be right, because Jesus is the prophet, the Saviour, the way, the Lord. I think it's scandalous that some churches water this down as an attempt to make the message more acceptable. To get bums on seats, to pay the pastor's wages, have a nice fat paycheck this week, hey! Pay church bills, to make people like the preacher. That's nice, isn't it? Liking the preacher. Everybody liked me. Everybody
Who
wanted
likes
to
you?
be liked.
Who likes you?
My cat.
Okay.
There's one. But you know, This type of message is disgraceful, because that message is denying that Jesus is the Christ, the Messiah. He is not a Saviour, he is the Saviour. He never said, I am a way, a truth, and a life. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. You know something? The message that we could give to make ourselves popular is nothing more than a compromise to make the message acceptable to the greatest number of people. This type of message will never be acceptable to God. And anyone who teaches this type of message will answer for it, because they should because they should know better. And if they don't know any better, they should read their Bible, study it, and learn it. Either that or stop preaching. The compromise has to stop, because the more we water the word down and compromise, it means that more people are lost to Satan and eternal damnation. We have a duty and a calling to say it as it is, to say it as Jesus said it. Anything else is a lie, and the father of lies is Satan, who wants us to water this message down. We live in a fallen world, and the only hope for this fallen world is the raw message of Jesus, spoken plainly, simply, and not watered down. We can see the results of a watered down gospel all around us. Poverty, drug abuse, sexual crimes, child abuse, crimes of all kinds. Lack of respect for your elders, lack of sympathy for disabled people, rise of the occult, teaching of evolution in schools and universities is fact, is clearly not fact. The thing is, I could go on and on and on, naming all these things that's going on around us. The truth is, Jesus Christ is the only way to God. There is no other way. Any other way may make you happy for a while, but it would damn your soul to hell for eternity. Jesus Christ is the Saviour of the world. He's not just a prophet. He's not just a prophet. He's not like the others. He is unique. He was and is the Son of God and the only way to the Father. So, ask a question. Ask Jesus. Jesus appeared to you, asked you a question. Who do you say I am? What would you say to him?
Like it.